Welcome to the Dream 100 Show, the epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tasner.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's edition of the Dream 100 Show. Today's topic is all about Dream 100 PR. So historically with the Dream 100, we focus a lot of our time, a lot of our attention, a lot of our financial resources towards garnering amazing partnerships that can refer you customers, clients, prospects on demand. We also spend a lot of resources on honing in on who are our Dream 100 clients or customers. And I've talked in the past that the first step, the first stage with the Dream 100 is picking one of the three audiences that you want to target. So your Dream 100 clients or customers, your Dream 100 strategic partnerships, joint ventures, alliances, referrals, however you want to phrase it, and however the deals end up getting done. And the third audience is your Dream 100 press. And I've been getting a lot of questions around, well, how can a PR gig, a PR feature, how can that actually turn into a Dream 100 type of arrangement or a Dream 100 feature? So I'm going to go through a couple of different niches and give you some examples of what I would deem kind of Dream 100 PR. And then we'll talk through the strategy of how do you actually land these types of relationships. And what you're going to find is that the similarities are almost identical between all three audiences. It's just that last piece of getting them over the edge or what your pitch is that's going to differ between the three audiences. If you're trying to pitch a Dream 100 client or customer, that pitch is going to be very different. If you're trying to pitch a Dream 100 partnership or referral relationship, that initial pitch very well could be inviting them to your podcast and then warming that relationship up. But that Dream 100 press, that Dream 100 PR has a very different final approach. So I'm going to rapid fire again, just a couple of different niches, and I'll talk through what could potentially be Dream 100 PR. First thing that you have to nail down before you go down this path is your press going to be local? So in your geographic area, let's say, give or take a 30 to 60 mile radius, or are you looking for nationwide press? Now, initially, you might say, well, we only serve local customers. We are a landscaper, and everyone that we serve is located in the Phoenix area. So we want our Dream 100 press to be all things Phoenix. But what I want you to consider is that a Dream 100 PR relationship, and I'll use PR, press, media, all these words are getting used interchangeably. They're all meant to do the same thing, which is get you and your business more visibility, get you and your business positioned as the authority in your market. Now, while being in the Phoenix area is great and being on whatever the top radio stations, TV stations, the morning news, for example, if there are any physical papers, business journals, those are all great media features. Whether it's a little 30-second spot, it's a whole feature, those are all great. And those very well could make it on your Dream 100 press list. But I want you to start to think a little bit bigger. And when you're putting this list together of who could potentially be a Dream 100 media partner, a Dream 100 feature, I want you to look at, well, what could elevate your status overnight? With a Dream 100 referral partnership, the criteria is they have to have the ability to double or triple your business within 6 months. So if you're doing $1 million in revenue, they have to be able to have the potential to refer $2 to $3 million in revenue to your business, to where they literally catapult you to a completely new level. Now, if you wind up on the local news for something that you're not paying for, is that going to potentially catapult your business? Now, in some cases, the answer could be yes. Some of the local news channels have a ton of listeners, a ton. Now, that doesn't mean for me to say that the listener count, so to speak, is getting larger. It's actually getting smaller. But one of those could help catapult your business. What if you were on the Today Show and you were doing a couple of minute segment on something that you are an expert at? We'll stick with landscaper for now. Let's say all those crazy, I don't know, a certain bug or a spider, like those crazy spiders that are all over the place. So if you've got some interesting article about that, and that's obviously more pest control, but how is that affecting people's lawns? And like you can tie it into something newsworthy, which we're going to circle back to in just a little bit. What kind of press could you potentially get from that interview versus your local media? Now, the chances are not overly high that every one of those listeners is going to be sitting in Phoenix. You're going to have people all over the US and even the world. So you're like, well, Michael, how could that potentially help? Pause for a second and think about it. What could being on the Today Show or one of these really big shows that are syndicated across the US, what could that potentially do for you and your business? You might all of a sudden start getting phone calls for other media requests and other media features. You might start to get an influx of people that want to invest in your business. But the piece that I absolutely love, and where we are seeing the people that we're implementing this strategy for really start to take advantage of the Dream 100 PR, is that they take that segment, and then that segment is used to help go and get other segments. And it's also used in all of your marketing. Now, you've got to get permission to do that stuff and permission to put it on your website, but that traditionally is the exchange, where sometimes they'll pay to fly you out. Sometimes you'll have to fly in your own dime, usually somewhat last minute. And in return, because you don't get paid for this stuff, there's some features you can get paid for, but in return, they're typically allowing you to use that segment in your marketing. And that, to me, is worth millions and millions of dollars. So until the end of time, you can be saying, as seen in, or as seen on. Now, it doesn't have to be you shooting as high as the Today Show. Obviously, a little bit far-reaching, but it's in no way impossible. But it could be one of the top shows on Sirius XM. And that feature then, the audio of that is now syndicated all over the place. You're putting that on your website, and that then is used in your marketing. You can take audio and turn any audio into a video with some pictures, even if they're static pictures, the words that are being said. There's a lot of ways to leverage that. That PR that you get is worth its weight in gold if it's going to help elevate your authority. If that's going to help you close more deals because you can say, we were featured here and nobody else has ever been featured there, you're going to be winning more deals. You're going to be able to go after the bigger accounts. So I want you to take a step back, and as you're putting this list together, I want you to look at what type of national media could help. And I want you to start to list those names on the sheet. So similar to what you're doing as you're putting together your Dream 100 partnerships, you're going to start to look for the Dream 100 media contacts, the Dream 100 PR journalists, radio DJs, Sirius XM hosts, all of those different places that you feel could help take you to another level that are aligned with your brand. Now, that's the key component there. If you have a funeral home, for example, unless you're talking about some crazy trends or something like that, that one might be a little bit challenging to get on national media for. But again, if you start to find some unique stories, that can definitely come true. So step one is decide if you're going to go after local, national, or both. We always recommend going after both and starting to have a mix. Now, from there, look at all of the different types of media: printed media, digital only, online, offline, radio, TV, magazines. Look at all those different places. Look at all the different industry publications that you could potentially write for, certain associations. Now, the reason that I want you to start to expand that audience is twofold. Number one, often it's not easy to put together 100 journalists if you're going after a local market. So I want you to be a little bit wider with your targeting. That's the first piece. The second one is, like everything, this is a numbers game. We're going to have to work these people. We're going to have to build their relationship. And it's got the same slow burn approach that we use with our strategy that we've been using week after week, day after day. So build out that list. And as you start to find certain relationships, you start to do the exact same thing. You build out that Excel sheet, that Google sheet that has all of their contact details, all of their social media accounts, not just where they're writing for. Now, the beautiful thing with PR in media and journalists is that they almost always have their email addresses on everything. They almost always have every one of their social channels listed all over the place. They're not very challenging people to get a hold of because they rely on people like you and I to feed them stories, to reach out to them, and then they have their process of filtering. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a journalist. Let's stick with Phoenix, and we'll stick with landscapers. Let's say you are the main journalist for one of the big newspapers in Phoenix, and you have been there for 20 years. You're considered the senior journalist, and you've covered some really major stories, some small stuff most of the time, but you've had some really big stories in Phoenix. Most people are going to be pitching that particular person day after day after day after day. Now, how could we put your name, your business, in a completely different bucket than everybody else? And that is, before you start any kind of pitching, you are going to build a relationship. You're going to comment on their social media like we do with everything else. Every single day, hitting those singles. You're going to learn what the journalist likes. What don't they like? What are some of their hobbies? You're going to watch some of their videos. You're going to get in their minds so that as you start to warm them up over the first 30, 60, 90 days, your name is going to start to kind of go up on their radar, and you aren't even going to pitch them yet. You're going to build the rapport, Now, the gifting strategy here has to be done very strategically. And I've talked about in the past, there's a borderline between strategic gifting and bribes. And traditionally, people at the media, they're not normally able to accept a large gift without it being heavily disclosed. So I traditionally do not gift anything crazy until I've started to get to know this person first, and we've exchanged some pleasantries, and then I usually will ask, am I able to send you a small thank you? And they'll usually say something like, yes, no, it's got to be under this limit. They'll give you a few details, and or you can almost always find kind of the conflict of interest stuff on the website for whatever publication or news channel or radio station that they're with. But I can tell you that radio DJs, they get lots of amazing gifts and services comped and all that kind of fun stuff. So in that industry, it is definitely very, very loose is probably the wrong word to use, but there's definitely a lot of gifts flowing around there. But if you're pitching somebody at the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, they're going to have a lot more strict requirements. So I want you to hit those singles, build the relationship, start to get them commenting on some of your stuff. And as you kind of get to the place where you feel like, I'm going to try a shot here and see what happens, rather than inviting them onto your podcast, which is definitely an option, you're typically going to pitch them a story. And I'll link the pitch that we use, but you're going to pitch a story. And then you're going to pitch another person a story that you've been warming up. So you are not traditionally or typically saying, can I bring you on my podcast? But if they do guest appearances and things like that, that is another way to separate yourself from the noise. But as we've kind of built some rapport, you go in for the kill, you present a perfectly flawless pitch that ideally is tied into something that is newsworthy currently, and it is in line with all the stuff that they've been writing about, talking about on the radio, talking about on their show. You have to have a very highly targeted pitch. And then you go back to hitting singles, and you're going to come up with another pitch, and you're going to hit them with a different pitch. And the name of the game with PR is newsworthy pitch content done in a very specific way. Now, similarly to other strategies, if you're not getting replies, you can start to test your gifting strategy. You can change up your subject lines in the email. You can change the pitch format that you're using. But generating this Dream 100 PR and media is actually harder than landing your Dream 100 clients, your Dream 100 customers, and your Dream 100 referral partners, because they're so inclined to certain ways of doing business, whereas the media, they're getting pitched literally, some of these people hundreds and hundreds of times a day. So you have to stand out. And this is where guerrilla marketing strategies work really well. This is where you could even potentially do some of that corny, lumpy mail, but like a higher end lumpy mail. Maybe it's got a mug with their face on it and a $25 Starbucks gift card and one of your recent PR pitches that you've sent them. So you're going to have to keep hitting singles, but with the press, you're typically offering something that is newsy as a story in the exact format that they're looking for. Now, again, if that isn't working, and isn't working is relative because this is a slow burn. This could take 6 months. But think about what can happen at your business if you land some of this national media. Some of the media is going to be a lot easier for you to get into. Local channels, local news stations, they're typically clamoring for stories. But you have to have a unique angle, a unique hook, a unique story. Pitching someone saying, I want to talk about my landscaping business is going to get you nowhere. So you need to be following trends and looking for something unique that you can add to the marketplace. So get out there. Step one, find your audience. Do you want local, national, a combination of both? Build out your Dream 100 media relationships, get all their contact details, and then start deploying the traditional strategy of hitting singles, commenting on their posts, deploying the gifting strategy, but being very cautious on how you do that. And then go in for the pitch. Follow up, go in for the pitch. Continue commenting on their social media, go in for the pitch, change your pitch. That is how you start to have those relationships fall. And once you've gotten the first couple, you can leverage those to say, we were seen here, here, here. That adds credibility and makes it a heck of a lot easier for you to get that next relationship. Dream 100 press and PR can be an absolute game changer. Get out there, take some action. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.